Hello, everybody. I'm trying something goofy because, oh yay, the platform I'm talking to you from announced they're shutting this down in December. I'm just having a bit of an open house. Got a beer here, and you can pop in. There's a link that you should see where you can say hi. Just literally, you'll come in. You have to kind of sign in, but it's very quick. And say hi. I had a long day. The There's a lot going on in the world, and I'm just taking a breather to test out another way to connect with folks before this platform evaporates, which is a bummer. I'll explain what's going on in a minute. So, if you're seeing this on wherever you are, I'm Andy Revkin, been a journalist for close to 40 years, and I've been running convening conversations about sustainability issues for years as well. And I try to test out different platforms and the like periodically. And this is one of them. So let me know what's going on in your world. Ask a question. One more thing here. And if not, I'll see you another time. I'll show you around a little bit. We can go to Tasmania. This is Indian Brook Falls, near where I used to live in the Hudson Valley. Here's the sequoias way out west. This is where I live now, although it's not cold enough to have a fire yet. Yeah, that's Bernie Sanders. Pretty funny. And I have loved this platform. I'm really bummed that it sounds like basically the pandemic ebbing, at least in a practical way. The people are not using it enough to satisfy the investors. Steve Page just moved from Florida to Wisconsin because of the weather. Yeah, Steve, I've been writing about Florida for a long time. The hurricanes. My parents lived in Stewart. The year they were there, the year it got they had 3 hurricanes in 1 year crisscrossed through Stewart. Not good. I'm posting the link where if anyone who's watching, hey Donna, you can kind of pop in and say hi face to face if you'd like to, which could be fun. Oh, I love those loons. Who else is out there? Oh, Steve, you lived in Tampa. Tampa kind of did, relatively speaking, okay. I grew up going to Florida. I really loved it, and it's just been a bummer to. Oh, this Kathy Senko in Fort Myers. Wow. So how's it gone? Kathy, if you want to join me face to face to talk about all this stuff, you can do that. Pop into the link, which I've shared on in the comment space. It's oea.com/sustain what. There it is again. I'll put it on screen so people can come join me. We can talk about what's going on out in the world. So there's the link. You can literally come into my little, this is my office space. It's kind of a goofy one, but we can go, here we are in the space station. That music is by my son, Daniel Revkin. Hey, Jamie. So, Jamie Hansen, who lives in Wisconsin, maybe you can meet up with, where is he? Steve Page, who just moved there from Florida. Now, hopefully, you're hearing me okay. Actually, I'll ask folks, are you hearing me? Okay. Bridget, what is the link to? I'll show you some of the other rooms I built. Come join me and you can come to the kelp forest, which is right here. So the reason I'm doing this is just a pop-up opportunity to talk to you all, which is always fun. But to show you I built an office here with all these different rooms. Oh, I'm a little quiet. Okay, let's see if I can figure that out. Tell me, I'm going to change the settings on my mic to see if I can make it louder. Audio. Mic. Oh, it is. This seems a little quiet. Oh, I see. That's why. External built in. There. Bop, bop, bop. Yeah. Hopefully that's a little better. Sorry if it's scrunchy. Can you hear the bubbling noises and stuff, or just me? Probably just me. Let me know if that's a little better. A lot of good comments coming in. Oh, wait, there's people coming in here. Hold on. Here we go. Party time. Hello. Sorry, I didn't see you in there. Can you hear the bubbling noises and stuff? Probably just me. Can you guys hear me? Are you able to hear me? Hold on. Let me just see. Can either of you, Nathan and Nancy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Party time. Good, I hear you. Sorry, I didn't see you in there. There's a bit of an echo. Oh, I have to... Can you hear the bubbling noise? Can you guys hear me? Are you able to hear me? Hold on. Let me just see. Can either Nathan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Party time. Good. I hear you.
I live in.
There's a bit of an echo. All right. Can you guys hear me?
I live in Jay, New York, near Lake. Yeah.
I'm in northern Michigan.
I live.
Well, no, it was on LinkedIn, and I went to Columbia, so I went to Columbia grad school. This is so good. There's like this weird overlay of everything. I'm hearing everything on like constant repeat. I'm in northern Michigan. Well, no, it was on LinkedIn, and I went to Columbia, so I went to Columbia grad school. It's like this weird. Hi. Yes. I know who you are. Yes.
Andrew, we met at the New York Times. I used to do a lot of work for the magazine. Back in the day, yes. Uh-huh. Well, I did things like the Yellowstone fires, and the Exxon oil spill. I, yeah, I think Kathy Ryan was the editor at the time. Yeah, I I did a book on the Adirondacks that was very cool, and then they started hiring me a lot, and we met a couple times in the offices.
Yeah, I missed some of that. Could you hear me okay?
I was talking about protection, and I remember you and you commented that every who just moves to a beautiful place.
Yeah. Well, I moved to Maine. Someone's saying they can. Oh, I'm just checking the comments to be sure people can hear us. And Nancy, what do you do? What kind of work or activity are you involved with?
So I'm co-executive director of a nonprofit called Vasi, which was founded by rural communities in the Peruvian Amazon. So
Wow.
I'm the English speaker, international facing person. Everyone else is local community members or Peruvian scientists.
Wow.
So I did my PhD at Columbia and in ecology and conservation biology.
That's pretty great. I've only been to the Brazilian Amazon. I got close to the border of Peru when I was writing my book about Chico Mendes, but never got over there. There's some amazing biodiverse spots.
I mean, I think all of the Amazon is pretty amazing and biodiverse.
That's it, yeah.
I don't think it recognizes the borders particularly well.
No, that's true.
The fish, they don't really care where the border is between Brazil and Peru and Bolivia and Ecuador and Colombia.
No.
You know, the birds, the water,
No.
the air. Yeah, no, it's a very dynamic system.
Wow. How did you end up? Had you always been drawn toward Amazonia in your work, or other?
I ended up going there. There's a professor, there's a research scientist who's a professor at Columbia, Miguel Pinedo Vasquez.
Oh, sure.
So when I was an undergrad, not at Columbia, I was put in touch with Miguel, and Miguel helped me arrange to go and do my thesis research in Amazonia, in his hometown, actually.
Oh, that's really cool. Another student of his, Fernando Allegretti, who was a Brazilian, he ended up being my translator, friend, assistant when I was doing the burning season.
Yeah.
He spent 4 months in the Amazon with me. 3 months really, running around trying to pull together that story. And the funny thing is, I was writing about violence and cattle ranching and land invasions and stuff, and people would say, "Were you afraid?" And the weird thing is, the fazenderos, the ranchers, they were kind of smug. They sort of didn't see me as a threat, so they were happy to talk to me, which is really weird. The things that really did endanger me were nature. I
usually answer in the reverse.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I had a farmer here in Michigan ask me literally last week, he was like, "So is it dangerous?" And I was like, "In what sense are you talking about?"
Oh, that's interesting.
Other than mosquitoes and mosquito-borne illnesses, no, I don't really think so. But people people tend to have their problems everywhere. I wouldn't say Amazonia has a monopoly on that.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's the Global Witness just put out this year's list of environment related murders, and it's a big list, unfortunately. Well, I just figured it was worth trying this out to see who was out there if you had questions and the like. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to explore things. I've been writing about these issues now for almost 40 years. It's kind of nutty. And I'll keep looking for people posting questions too. There's quite a few people engaging here, which is kind of fun. Maybe we should do open house more often.
Yeah, I actually kind of clicked on it because I've never done a LinkedIn Live or participated. And I was like, I want to see how this works. And
Well, here we
this is
go.
great because I've always wanted to speak with you. So fabulous. I didn't expect it to only be 2 people.
Yeah, I know. Well, again,
Wow.
I've never really done it this way before, so I wasn't sure what to expect as well. I just turned up. I don't know if you guys can probably hear the birds. I'm not sure if people out there can hear this. There's bird calls and water and stuff. I love this platform because it breaks all of the Zoom constraints. I built all these rooms just from scratch. Picked photos I'd taken, and it's just way better than sitting in those boxes. Although it's going away December 31st. So what are you going to do? That's the nature of the internet. Have you dealt with a gold mining question? Is that happening nearby where you're doing that work?
No. Where we are, it's actually not like the pressures are more dispersed. They're not a specific overriding thing. So it's been recently in the news in Manga Bay in the MAP project work because there's Mennonite colonies in the area that have been that are being labeled as the cause of some significant deforestation. And I would add that it's more than just the Mennonites in that area that are, there's a conglomeration of factors, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw more timber piled up than I've ever seen or even imagined.
Wow.
A couple months ago. It was insane.
A
tree that took up almost the entire bed of a big flatbed logging truck.
Incredible.
Just its diameter. I was with my husband, who's from the area, and he used to work as a timberman. He was like, "Well, that's a very big tree."
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in that sense, but most of it's more dispersed. So that there's a road now coming from the region to the north, San Martin, into Loreto, and that's where a lot of this is happening. Not a plant, not an approved road, not a road that had an environmental impact report or anything like that.
Huh.
But I would be really curious to know more about. I'm fascinated by your communication around climate change, around sustainability, and I was hoping to hear more about how people for instance, me or other people in a nonprofit, things that we can glean from your way of communicating to help communicate more completely about the complexities, the way things interlink. I get these comments from people, even highly educated people, of that's too conceptual.
Oh yeah.
That. And so I feel okay, fine, that's a fair feedback. I clearly need to learn how to communicate this better, in a more understandable way. So that was my interest in dropping in here, was to see if you spoke to anything on that.
Well, yeah, I've my big shift recently after the work I did at the New York Times. I mean, Nathan would know most of what we did in the newspaper was unidirectional. I would go out in the world, talk to a lot of people on the phone, interview and synthesize what I could, write a story, post it, and that was it. Then post it, they would print it. I was in the building in 43rd Street. When the last day they had the printing presses run, they moved the printing presses out to New Jersey and to Long Island, and it was you were done, like that was it. And it was in 2003 when I went to the North Pole for the New York Times. Out on the sea ice at the North Pole. I turned off the birds. And I had a video camera because I thought if I'm going to go to the North Pole, standing on the sea ice, floating on the ocean with scientists for 3 days, I better come back with every possible form of story. But there was an editor back in the newsroom who she said, she got in touch with me. I can't remember how. She said, let's do a Q&A. We'll post a little note on the website. This was 2003, before a lot of, internet stuff. And the note said, Andy Revikin's at the North Pole. Do you have any questions? And I was just fascinated by that possibility. I wasn't sitting at my computer with a high-speed connection answering reader questions. I was on my satellite phone, and she was relaying, emailed or whatever questions that came in. But it really got me thinking about, wow, even while I was reporting an article, I could have this conversation with readers. I went to Greenland, the big ice sheet, the following year, and I did a little bit of a blog. It was called Postcards from the Arctic. 2005, I went to the Montreal climate talks, and I brought a little, I had a recording device, but it was digital by then, not like a tape recorder. And we did a podcast, 2005. That's almost 20 years ago. And then in 2007, I started my blog at the New York Times. So I was writing articles, regular stories, but the blog was much more about interactivity. And I did it because I felt it better reflected what you were just talking about, that there's no one climate story. There's the energy story, there's the justice story, there's the technology part, there's the basic science. And trying to fit all those things into standard articles felt constraining. Yeah, cut. I only had one time at the New York Times where an editor told me to write more. One time out of like 3,000 stories. And that was because it was about rock and roll. It had nothing to do with climate. So anyway, now the last 5 years, I've shifted much more to what can I do to help people have access to necessary information or to expertise that can help build better decisions, whether the decisions are about how to boost the energy efficiency of your house, or what do we do now that there's a climate bill with $370 billion? How does that money get spent in a way that's useful? And I had an unbelievable conversation a month or two ago on my webcast with Jigar Shah, who's there's that delay is coming in again. Anyway, he's in the energy department. He runs the loan program, and he said, we have all this money now from the infrastructure bill. It's like hundreds of billions of dollars between the two bills. But we can't force communities to take up the money. They're incentives. They're not they're not forcing you to change your diesel buses into electric buses. Someone at the community level has to do that. And that really is exciting to me because it takes this away from being some story about convincing people about global warming, which I did for forever. Stories like this cover story in 1988, to empowering people at the local level in every town in America and ultimately elsewhere. Here's how, if you have someone who's active and concerned about climate change in Boise, Idaho, that person can now be very empowered. They can go to their city hall, to the town meeting or whatever, and say, here's the information we need to change our bus fleet to electric buses. There's a huge amount of money available at the federal level. You apply for a loan, and this is how you do it. So, and as Jigger said in this conversation, there's thousands and thousands of people who are activated about climate change. And it's sorry if my internet is I'm in rural Maine and on a satellite connection, so the internet may slow down. Anyway, now it's just not now at the local level. It's not just you lobbying or pressing for political change. You can actually help your town get these resources that exist, and that feels to me like a very different and exciting opportunity. So what I'm trying to do is foster that capacity more than tell good stories. I don't know if that makes sense. And the same thing can happen for biodiversity. I'm really worried about salamanders, which might sound weird. I wrote a piece recently about the fungus. It's similar to the one that went around the tropics and killed off so many frogs. There's a chytrid fungus that's imperiling salamanders. And believe it or not, the United States has the richest biodiversity of salamanders in the world. Something I didn't know until I started doing the reporting. I think of tropical frogs and amphibians. I think of Costa Rica, but for salamanders, this is it. And this virus is in Europe now. It came from Asia, fungus, and the pet trade is the main portal. So, like, I'm really eager to have people, understand that there's a lot at stake here. And salamanders matter. They matter to ecosystems. They, not only do they eat bugs, but they're just a big part of ecosystems that we don't think of because they're under our feet. But anyone at the local level can kind of work with information now to build the story of caring for our amphibians. And I think that's as valuable as writing another story for the Times or one of the magazines. So that's kind of where I'm at. The iNaturalist, it's social media, finding the upside of social media amid the horrible downside is really, there's still a lot to do there. That's wonderful. But you have to put it to your own use. It's not like, because otherwise it'll swamp your life. What's the website for the group, the organization in Peru?
Our website is absolutely abysmally awful right now. It hasn't been updated since before the pandemic. But you can, like, our social media handles are all at Proyecto Vasi. Is there somewhere to type something here?
Yeah, right in the sky, there's a box. There's a little box.
There we go. In the sky.
A box in the sky.
It's not letting me click. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yep,
okay.
Right there.
So on LinkedIn it's just Vasi, and on Twitter, which we rarely ever post on, Instagram, and I can't even see this. It's so small. I hope that it's at Proyecto Vasi. So like Project Vasi, but Proyecto for Spanish.
Okay.
That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And we've been really quiet on social media because we didn't have anyone doing communications, and I was literally in the Amazon with no internet or anything, so I failed on the communication front. But we're in the process of recruiting some undergrad social media interns. They always do much better than I do anyway.
That's the key. Yeah.
Yeah, no, younger generations are much better at this. So we have some Peruvian students. We have one Peruvian student who's able to translate anything in English to Spanish. We're looking at finding some people who can do the other direction of translations quickly and make, beautiful social media posts.
So there it is. Proyecto Vasi Peru.
Yes.
Proyecto Vasi Peru. That's
Does
great.
Does it say Peru in there somewhere? That's interesting.
I posted it on the screen here. You might not see that because you're in the
Oh yeah.
There's
I
like a
think when
wider
I
scale.
had the LinkedIn open, that was part of the echoing thing going on too.
Oh, that would do it. Yep, that's right.
So
That's
I
right.
closed LinkedIn. Yeah. No, and I would love, one of the things we're trying to do right now is reach out to more people. Vasi works, we have this really big global mission of the communities, and this is the communities. So, these are very rural communities. They're halfway between Iquitos and Pucallpa. So that's like 18 hours on a speedboat with no roads to it.
Wow.
And their idea was to come together and form a nonprofit specifically to support themselves and other communities, really anywhere, to create a network so that their own ideas about creating sustainability, they have a way to implement them. They can, tap into different resources that they don't have in their communities, whether that's an expert on climate change that, isn't there, or whether it's capital, or whether, whatever piece they're missing to implement their solutions. And so, that's this really big, broad goal. And a lot of what I end up doing is trying to recruit people into that broader network, whether that's experts in different working groups, or whether that's, donors or people who want to get involved, helping out make social media posts, things like that. But
Yeah.
it's very much this idea of collaboration, which is a very fundamental part of their communities, is everything's built on collaboration. So taking that fundamental cultural idea and making it a bigger concept.
That's just great. Oh, some point we could do I could do a webcast just on this project. You're reminding me a little bit of in Guanacaste, a park in Costa Rica. There's a lot of community engagement and conservation, including professionalizing. They call them parataxonomists, people who from the community who are trained and hired to help do the assay of the biodiversity. Especially they use the genetic. It's the barcode of life stuff. It's sort of genetic
Wow.
work, and I think it's fantastic. And the community gets engaged. The community co-publishes the technical work with them.
It's so fundamental. It's so fundamental.
Yes.
And that's one of our, we have these three main pillars or branches. I think like a biologist, so I think of branches. Someone else said pillars to me today. But, we have one, which is increasing access to quality, culturally integrated healthcare and education. It's very practical. Third is community-based research, with that idea that it needs to be, co-authored, co-led, co-designed from the get-go.
So I'm showing your website right now.
I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
It's disconcerting to see it pop up.
No, it looks good.
So thank you.
And there's someone.
It's not updated. I would like to.
Well, it looks pretty good to me.
There's nothing about what we did in the pandemic, and I think that's some of what people don't understand is, we look at it as like, how can you ask people, or how the community members are like, we want to be actively involved in sustainability, in conservation, in climate change mitigation and adaptation, but we have no option to do that if we're dying.
Yeah, right.
If we don't have access to healthcare, our resource is to cut down the trees that often we've planted, to pay for emergency care that's 20 hours away by speedboat, if we can even get there.
Wow.
So that linkage is, there's more and more understanding, especially after the pandemic, of the linkage going, that we need biodiversity to protect human health, that we need a healthy climate to protect human health. But there's less conversation about how, well, if we don't protect human health, we also are really not going to, in many of these frontline communities or rural communities, people rely on these resources as their banks, as their, they invest in them, they plant trees. But if you don't have a resource, it's not going to, if you don't have any alternative, that's also what you're going to draw on in an emergency, or to send your kids to college.
Yeah, that's a pattern that we've seen everywhere around the world in developing countries, where without that economic empowerment, you can forget about conservation goals.
It's true in our own country.
Oh yeah, good point.
Like,
Oh,
it's
that.
truly here. Like, why was most of Michigan burned? Why did most of it burn to the ground 100 years ago? I mean, there was extensive timbering. Why did people do this? Because they needed income.
Sure.
Like, it's a sort of, it's not unique for sure.
No.
It's to me, it's just so relieving to hear community members speak about it so directly and clearly. I hadn't necessarily put it into direct, clear words in my own head, and they're like, listen, health comes first. So you see what I'm saying? It's not
Yeah.
all up to date. There's
Right,
a lot
right,
of
right.
coming soon.
No, it's just fantastic though. And also there's someone who over on Facebook who says, Eve Christie, I'm interested in helping out from Georgia, USA. What opportunities do you have at the moment? So maybe you can cross
I
platforms.
would love to. How can I put my email or something there? I'm trying to. I can't find your chat in the sky anymore.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's probably gone.
And I found you on LinkedIn, so I don't know where this is on Facebook.
Eve Christie, Eve, I'll tell Eve, send me an email at Revkin, REVKIN, at gmail.com. And most everyone won't hear that, so I won't worry about privacy issues. Revkin at gmail.com. And I'll get the message to, hold on, let me,
Nancy.
Nancy, right.
And my email's easy for work. It's nancy@proyectovasi.org.
Oh, there you go.
So if you can see the Proyecto Vasi written somewhere so that you get the Spanish version of it right,
Right.
then it would get straight to me.
Proyectovasi.org.
This is amazing. I expected to listen to you.
No,
Which
no.
would have been very amazing.
Yeah, but I'm all about listening myself. See, that's kind of the change I've had. It's more about asking questions. The platform that I run through Columbia is called Sustain What. So even my blog is about asking questions, and it's not about it's not me telling you what to do. So that's kind of a change in my own approach to things. I think we're going to call it a day. It was just great to connect with you and to shed some light on this project. That's great. And I'm really glad this worked out. So everybody out there, this was a total experiment. I've had a long, weird day. I learned that this platform, Oh Yay, that I really like, that gives us this capacity to have really cool conversations, is going away. Oh, whoops. Hold on. Where did you? Oh, I keep forgetting. You're over here. This is like blending two platforms at once, Nancy. So it's complicated. Right. I have to stop sharing that screen. There we go. Nancy Damon. Super. Well, so let's call it a day for here. This is sort of Sustain What, sort of on my StreamYard platform, but also on Oh Yay, just to pay homage to this wonderful tool, which I'm sad to say is going away. And we've been talking about Proyecto Vasi spontaneously with Nancy Damon, who's in, did you say Wisconsin? Where? Michigan. Stay in touch with me, and we'll keep experimenting. Keep experimenting. Use these tools. Don't give up on them. Find ways to connect with people, to spread great ideas and evolve new ones. So take care. Hasta la vista. Okay, we'll call it a wrap.